my name is Xue Chen Zhang, but you can call me Chen, and I will be introducing the guests on this podcast series, which is all about the future of our unique city of Adelaide. But before starting with the guests, let me introduce Fuzzy Trojan, who took the initiative to make this series. Fuzzy's life has been an amazing adventure. It began in an air raid in Vienna during World War II. Then he came to Adelaide at the age of 4. Later, he graduated from Adelaide University with majors in psychology and history, and has always been passionate about social organization and human well-being. Over the years, Fuzzy has played many roles: teacher, social researcher, marketing manager, consultant, business owner, company director, entertainer, volunteer manager, woodcrafter, and builder. And he has volunteered with 24 non-profit organizations. He also pioneered social innovations and helped establish iconic Adelaide projects, including Rundle Mall and the O-Bahn busway. Now, Fuzzy wants to devote his remaining years to serving the people of Adelaide. And that's exactly why this podcast exists. Welcome, Fuzzy. And we're very excited to explore more about your podcast. So can you tell us more about why do you want to do this?
I think the world as a whole is facing great change, a huge disruption. And we need to be ready for that and think ahead to how to position ourselves into that coming future. And the thing that will trigger that is AI. And it's interesting, you probably noticed in the last few months that the word AI is constantly on everybody's lips. So it's beginning to bite.
So that's why you're having, is it like all different guests to explore this?
Yeah, we're looking at what Adelaide can do as a city to position itself in the new future. I believe the new future will be nothing like current life. Everything will change. Jobs will shrink, we'll have more leisure time, there'll be other threats that we have to deal with and face. And so unless we think ahead and position ourselves into that coming future, we'll be overrun.
Fuzzy, can you tell us what kind of guests you are interviewing at the moment?
So we've got all kinds of people who have got positions of power and influence and have opinions about where Adelaide might go in the future. So we've got people like the current Lord Mayor of Adelaide, professors from the university, artists, musicians, cultural leaders, AI experts. And I'm looking also for an Indigenous voice to come as well.
That sounds really interesting project to work with. So you don't have any limit for the guests, you're just continuing for this?
We'll keep going until we run out of steam.
Fuzzy, I know that you're very interested about Adelaide's future. So where do you see that right now?
Well, I come from Vienna. And when I say that to people, they instantly have an image in their mind. When I say I come from Adelaide, people from another city or from the other part of the world generally haven't heard of us. So I guess my objective in this podcast is to create a world-class position for our city and then promote that and have it adopted by the community and the government and put Adelaide in a similar position to Vienna of being recognised around the world for what it is.
So have you found the answer now?
I've got my own answer, but I don't think my answer is the only answer. And I invite our viewers to put in their suggestions. Maybe somebody's got a better idea than me. But my answer is that it's based on the evolution of human society over the long period of time. And I see it this way. We've gone from the garden, which is the Aboriginal world here in Adelaide, to the farm, which was the agricultural age that the early settlers introduced to this part of the world. Then we went from the farm to the factory when the steam engine started industrialisation. Then we went from the factory to the office. And now we're about to go from the office to the next stage of activity. And all of these changes were brought about by new technology, agriculture, industry, computers, and now the big technology that's going to change everything again is AI. And I think that's a big technology that is going to be very fundamental because it combines all the other technologies. And for the first time in human history, we'll have gadgets, machines, computers that can largely replace human work. And if these devices largely replace human work, what are we all going to do? I think the answer lies in looking at what rich people do. They've got plenty of time and money, they can do whatever they like, and they tend to fill their lives with self-development, travel, serving others, and interesting things that they want to do. One of our future guests, Marshall Cohen, is a very good example of that himself. So for me, that's the new future. It's personal development and growth. What Maslow calls, there's a guy, psychologist called Abraham Maslow, he calls it self-actualization. So I think we as a city can foresee the future by putting ourselves into that zone. Now, whether the words that we choose, Adelaide World Capital of Self-Actualization, or Adelaide World Capital of Making Better People, or whatever, I'm not stuck on the language. It's the idea of that being where the future lies.
I know that it's quite important needs, like on the top, that for self-actualization. But what do you feel like makes so Adelaide is kind of matched with this? Because I know like Adelaide is quite famous for your tourism industry.
It's a very good question. Why can Adelaide claim that title?
Yeah.
There's a guy called Professor Bell, and he wrote a book, and I saw him first at Greg Mackey's Ideas Festival, and Greg is our first guest. And Professor Bell wrote a book called The Spirit of Cities. And he says, what I'm proposing to do here in Adelaide is quite common in China. And when on my travels to China, I saw it for myself with my own eyes. I visited many cities that define themselves around something special that suits that city. I'll give you an example. Khufu is the birthplace of Confucius. That city makes its living out of tourists and travellers who come there to study Confucius ideas and philosophies. So Bell says you need to tick 6 boxes to make this work. I won't go into them now, but I believe Adelaide ticks all 6 of them. And one of the most important ones is our history. Bell says you need to build on your history and project it forwards to make this idea succeed. And we're having a guest, Kira Lindsay, who's the history advocate. She's going to tell us a little bit about our history. But Adelaide is unique. It's special. It's the first true democracy on the planet. The first place in the world that gave women and men equal rights politically to vote and stand for parliament. So democracy started here. And there's not much question that we could become the world capital of social and political innovation, because we are. And if the history is consistent with that claim. Now, whether that brings people here or not is another question. So we need to consider that carefully. But I believe the history and all the other circumstances around Adelaide position us to become a world capital, a shining light to the rest of the world.
Sounds great. I think that's kind of like the purpose that you want to discuss with your guests, and then to moving towards, and then I've heard that also you want to generate the public discussion as well on this, and then find solutions or like.
Yeah, well, this is a big public discussion.
Yeah.
And that's my job, is to launch a public discussion.
And then, Fuzzy, I know you're doing this. This podcast is not for money. So what drives you to do this?
I'm a senior citizen. I'm now in my 80s. I won't be here to experience this coming future that's so threatening. But your generation and my grandchildren will be here. And it's more interesting to me to do something for the world, to give service, than to serve myself. I've got everything I need. And for me, helping my grandchildren have a better life and safeguarding the future, that's more important to me than anything else. And not only my grandchildren, but all of that young generation. They face great threats and dangers. So I'm here doing what I can to prepare the way for them. And by the way, I'm having the best time of my life doing this. So it serves me as well as the greater community.
That's very beautiful. Very kind of you for doing this. And I think that's why you look very young. Doesn't look like 82. Thanks, Fuzzy. So join us for our podcast, Adelaide, Who Are We? And Where Are We Going? With our fascinating range of guests.
Reaching for